Y'all. It's Mercy here with a Worthy Conversations podcast. Thank you for coming back and watching for my next interview. I'm so excited to be here today to share a conversation I had with the wonderful Brittany Bristow with you guys. Many of you know her from her Hallmark works, including Christmas at the Palace, Holiday Date, Love, Romance, and Chocolate. She's got two movies coming out this Christmas, so I'm super excited to share about those with you and everything else going on in her life. So it's been a bit since we spoke, last did an interview. Can you share a little bit about what your life has been like since then?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been a while. I've been working lots and I've been feeling really excited with a lot of the projects that I'm working on. Specifically this year, I've been really lucky. I've done two Christmas movies and I just found out where they're airing, but I don't think I can share it yet. But I think people are going to be very happy because there were no Christmas movies last year, so they're going to get two this year. And I'm really excited about that. And I've been working on trying to like develop some of my own things. And yeah, I've just been sort of living life, I guess. My husband and I have been doing tons of work on our house. We're trying to do all of our renovations ourselves. So it's been I've been putting on my Bob the Builder work belt and trying my best at construction too, which has been an adventure to say the least.
So since we last spoke, you just mentioned your husband. You weren't married when we last spoke.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, that is so true. It's been way too long.
it has. What is one thing that marriage has taught you?
Oh gosh. It's funny. I think in speaking to people, I always expected that there would be this sort of like change or you would feel something shift. But I feel like with Dustin and I, there's just been this really wonderful continuum, I guess. Like it's just, I feel so lucky every day that I get to wake up and be a part of this life with him. And I think, it's funny. I think it's just that choosing the right person is really the greatest thing you can do. And trusting in that and trusting in the experience and the journey together is really important because I feel like I learn something new every day. I feel like I'm experiencing things through a different perspective every day. But it's the little things. Yeah, let's go with that. It's the little things. It's the little moments that you get to spend together that are the ones that really make every day special. We have our little traditions and we try to uphold those. And when I'm away with work, it's always challenging, but we try to always make time for each other. And I think that's a huge thing is just recognizing and like being there for each other. And even when you don't have the energy to give to somebody, just like being with them, just
Mhm.
being present as best you can is really important.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You just recently were in Budapest to film a movie. What was your favorite part of filming there?
The crew. Yeah, it's a beautiful city and there's so much to explore and so much to see, but the people that I got to work with were just incredible. We had such an incredible crew, such an incredible group of people, and they were just so ready and willing to like jump in hands on and make sure everything got done exactly as needed. And they were just so awesome.
What
Yeah.
is your favorite place that you've traveled to?
Oh gosh. That is such a good question. It's like one of those crippling ones where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know the answer. Um, I think, truthfully, I think Italy. I've never worked there, but we went on our honeymoon and it was my first time going. And my husband had lived there for like 4 years, I think, when he was quite young. So he has some experience with Italian and we just sort of like explored the whole place. And we actually got a chance to go back, which was really exceptional last year when we were in Budapest working on Love on the Right Course, which was a movie that he and I wrote together. When we left Budapest, we decided, well, we're so close. Let's like, the flights are cheap. Let's just do it. So we went back to Italy for a few days before we had to fly home. And yeah, there's just something so exceptional about how people just allow themselves to like live a little slower there. I don't know. I think in North America, everything is constantly like so go, 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 go. That
Yeah.
when you go to a place like Italy and everyone's like, just have a glass of wine and some cheese. You're like, oh my gosh, it really is this beautiful and wonderful. And I know there's a ton of people there that run around and work and do all the things they need to do. But when you're in the countryside, it's just there's like a real appreciation for life there that I think makes it my favorite.
Yeah. That's at the top of my list of places to visit. So,
Gosh, I really hope you get to go like tomorrow.
so what do you like to do like in your free time when you're on a set filming? If there is free time.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's I I love to do things that keep me physically active. Like I find for mental health, it's the number one thing. So when I'm working, I also try to really keep it up, but it can be kind of hard with scheduling. But like yoga, stuff like that, anything that just sort of keeps me moving, but sort of works towards a good mental state is really important, I find, especially in the in between stages that are a little bit longer. When you're just waiting or trying to figure out what the next job is, there can be a huge downtime. And so just sort of maintaining that mental clarity is very important. And then in the summer, I love to golf, which I'm trying to do as much as humanly possible right now. I'm slowly but surely getting better. Still not a pro, but maybe one day. And yeah, in the winter, like I love to cook. Honestly, it's something that I was a terrible cook before COVID. I couldn't cook anything. Like I could maybe roast a chicken if I was lucky, it wouldn't burn. And then during COVID, I was so unsure as to what to do. And I was like, I need something every day that I can do that makes me feel like I've accomplished something. And so I decided to learn how to cook. And I bought all of the cookbooks I could, and I would like watch videos on YouTube, and I started cooking, and now I just love it. So it's something that I try to do every day. And I know that that probably sounds silly and cheesy, but I do, it just like, it brings me such a sense of peace, which is weird. But like, I think I just have a real love of organizing, which if people have ever seen any of my stories on Instagram when I'm working, it's a little bit much. There's like 9,000 different post-it notes and every single highlighter color humanly possible and way too many tabs. And I think it sort of like gives me that same fulfillment is because I can like organize all of my ingredients in different little bowls and like have everything perfectly organized. Yeah, stuff like that. I love, yeah, winter's a little harder, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's funny.
as
COVID is when I
bake,
got
bake, eat cookies, watch movies.
yeah. COVID is when I got into cooking and baking too. So
Yeah, I think it's like it's one of those things that either became the time where people just figured out how to create snack plates out of various things, or they really spent time learning how to cook.
yeah.
It's good for that.
um, what is your favorite thing about what you do for a living?
Oh man, that is such a good question. Um, I don't know that I know. It's I think it's a combination of so many things. It's getting to explore a character in a way that allows me to live through so many people. I get a chance to be so many different professions and have so many different outlooks on life, and being able to sort of experience life through so many different shoes is really cool. But then on the other side of it, it's getting to meet new people and working with such large groups. Crews are massive, and then you've got your co-stars and everything, and getting a chance to sort of like enter this sort of summer camp feel of all banding together to make this thing that you're all hoping will be extraordinary is really cool too. And I mean, I think if I really had to narrow it down to me specifically, it would be the work of developing a new person. But if I look at it on a grand scale, it's probably making something with so many people, and all sort of coming together like a little high school project, except everybody's actually pulling their weight.
So how do you like step into a character's shoes? What's a method or something that you use to do that?
So I've worked with some really incredible coaches, and I've done um, a couple of different sort of processes over the years. But what I do right now is I go through the script and I look for any little clues that give me information about who they are. So if they have a certain type of reaction to something, or if they state somewhere they're from, or where their grandparents were born, like any little peppers of who make what makes them who they are, I'll pull those things out, and then I like to try to build like a character profile. So I'll go through and Larry Moss is the person whose breakdown I basically use for everything. He has a series of 50 questions that you can ask to basically make yourself familiar with a person. And so I'll go through and I'll ask all those questions, and I sort of build like a little report as to who this person is. And then I go through and I develop their relationships to each of the people that they're around. So if they speak about somebody, how does that person make them feel? I really just try to like pull at the everyday things and the every moment bits, because I think so often those are the pieces that we miss. Is like, every character has a sense of humor. Every character has a favorite song. Every character has a way they like to stack the dishwasher. You know what I mean? Like every person has all those little things, and if you know how a person is, and you know what it is that they like and how they would navigate their life in the same way that you recognize your own, then you can really sort of take a step back and see them as a whole human, and then start to build them and play with them within the hour and a half, or the 2 weeks of their life that you're getting to play with, which is really fun. I think I'm a bit of an overachiever sometimes, because I'll beat myself up if I like don't know every last little thing. But time is such the enemy when it comes to these things, because you so often don't get enough time. But yeah, I really like to sort of dive in and like really figure out who they are. And then I find once you're in that place, then you're reading a script, and of course so much of what you've built and so much of what you've taken from the story leaves such an impression on you that it becomes easy to respond how they would respond, because it becomes natural, because that's just who they are. And so it does sort of lend itself to helping with memorizing and helping with transitions of emotions and stuff like that too. So yeah, that's sort of my way of going about it.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Um, you get to work with your dad a lot on movies, don't you?
Yeah, a fair bit.
So what is that like? How do you balance like working with family and filming a movie, or does it just really seamless?
It's funny. My dad and I have had, well, my mom and my dad and I have had a chance to work together on a handful of these projects. And it's one of those things where when I was younger, I felt such a need to defend myself as an actor. I'd walk onto set and be so anxious because I wanted to prove to my co-stars that I deserved to be there, that I'd worked really hard, and that, I'd gotten the role because I'd worked hard, and because I'd done everything I could to be the person that was right for it. And now that I'm older and I have a little bit more trust in myself and a little bit more confidence, as like much as it feels weird to say that, I do think it's more present in me as I've gotten older, is that now it's just exciting. Now it's one of those things where I get to sit in a room and watch my dad do what he loves to do, and watch my mom excel at what she loves to do, and then I get to just have fun with them. And as a 34-year-old woman, it's really nice to be able to have that sort of play with my parents. We're very close, and I love them so much. And I feel so lucky now that I get to work with them. Whereas when I was younger, I was always like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to explain to everybody. Like, I promise I worked really hard for this. And now that that stress is gone, it's just sort of become this really fun sort of like play space for us. So it's really special to get to share with them.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Is there anything you can share about the upcoming Christmas movies?
Yes. So one of them I shot with Marcus Rosner. We shot it in Edmonton. It was so much fun. I play a very A-type woman who is just struggling a little bit with being alone at the holidays. And struggling with what that means for her future. She's sort of taking off on her own and really loses her footing right before the holidays and doesn't really know what to do. And then in the second one, I got to work with one of my dear, dear, dear friends, Will Kemp. And it was so special because he and I have worked on now 3 movies together. And I have been the best friend to his love interest twice now. And we became friends for the first time about 7 years ago. And we've stayed in touch. We've always had a really, really beautiful friendship. And to be able to work toe to toe with him was really exciting, and we had so much fun. We laughed so much. We loved our characters. We just had like an absolute blast. And yeah, it was really special to be able to share the screen with him in that way, because it's something that we've also been talking about wanting to do for ever. So it was really, really fun. And we get to dance in that movie, and there may or may not be some more chocolate involved. And I really hope that the audiences love it. We worked really hard on it, and he and I put a lot of love and effort into really doing everything we could to make the characters unique and bring them to life together. So I hope people like it.
I'm sure we will.
Fingers crossed.
Is there, looking back on filming that movie, is there like a special moment or memory that especially comes to mind?
It's funny. I think like when you get to work with your friends, there is something so fun about going to work every single day, and you have all these little moments and you laugh and you have your inside jokes, but ultimately it's like the overall experience of it. Same with working with Marcus. Marcus and I have been friends since we worked on the Love Club together, and it's just one of those things where you go to work and you just have so much fun. Like it does make it so special. But I will say Will and I had to learn a waltz. And having both been dancers, I think they trusted us like very fully to learn this dance very quickly. And we had the most incredible choreographer come out, and we took a single day and we learned an entire waltz in like 3 hours. And then they were like, okay, so I guess just practice until we film. And we were like, oh God. But learning it and like running around that studio, and just we had so much fun together, and we laughed so hard, and there were so many moments where we were both just like, what are we doing? Are we going to fall over? Do we know steps? No, we don't. And then when we were actually filming it, we had so much fun, but we were filming it in a way where there were a bunch of other dancers around us, and I'm sure it will be noticeable. There were so many moments where we're like smiling, but like also talking to each other under our breath, because like I tripped and then he tripped, and then I accidentally hit somebody. I have no idea to this day. I apologize to all of them. I was like, who did I hit? I'm so sorry. And they were like, it's fine. And I was like, no, but who was it? I really am sorry. And couldn't get an answer. But it was just a bit of a like kerfuffle, but we had so much fun doing it that I think ultimately that's what we'll show. But the dance felt hilariously chaotic, but like in a really wonderful way. And I just hope that we made our choreographer proud.
Dancing is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. My husband is a really good dancer, but I am not.
Okay.
So dancing for our wedding was very interesting.
Oh, yeah. No, Dustin and I decided we just weren't going to do anything. We were just going to like sway around in a circle and then like make everybody join us on the dance floor because we were stressed about it.
That's
So
a good idea.
we didn't actually choreograph anything. We're like, we'll just sway and it'll be nice. And then everybody will come up and hang out with us.
Kind of switching gears a little bit.
Yeah.
What is a book or movie that you would recommend to someone?
Oh, wow. Okay. Book or movie, book or movie, book or movie. Okay, so there's a very beautiful French film that I watched when I was in high school, and for some reason it has stayed in my soul forever. I have not watched it since, so I don't know if this is the worst recommendation or the best recommendation, but I've never been able to forget about it. It's actually a French film, but it's called A Very Long Engagement. There was an actor named Gaspard Ulliel who was in it. He very tragically passed away a couple of years ago, which was so sad. People might recognize him. He was in the Chanel blue perfume or cologne commercials. But he is in it. And I just remember it being like this really beautiful film. I believe it takes place during a war, and it's this like beautiful love story. I remember it being sad. Maybe this is the worst recommendation ever, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm sticking with it. A Very Long Engagement. And then book. I'm such a sucker for like mysteries and like horror books. So there's this one author whose novels I hate to use the word obsessed, but I think I might be obsessed. I've read every book that he's published under this name, and I recently discovered that he had a fake name that he was publishing under for a while, so I've started purchasing all of those books too. But his name is Alex North, and he has a series of novels, and they're not connected, but they are like there's little moments where you'll see like, oh, that's from the other book. But he has a book called The Whisper Man, which is terrifying. And oh gosh, what are the other ones? There's The Angel Maker. The Angel Maker is amazing, but they're very scary novels. Like I don't know. I don't have any fun romantic novels. I need suggestions because all I read are mysteries and dystopian sci-fi books. And yeah, if anybody has any really wonderful romantic novels out there, please send them my way. I would like to read something that's not scary. You just get so sucked in when it's suspenseful. You're like, look, I can't stop reading. But
yeah. I'm the person that gets stuck on YouTube, like watching the conspiracy theories and all of like yeah.
Big time. Yeah, they're fascinating. Can't look away. It's like a train wreck. You're just like, what? No. What? No. Constantly.
What is a fictional character that you relate to?
That is such a tough one. A fictional character that I relate to.
Maybe since you mostly read horror, it's not a good thing to try.
I know. I'm like, oh God, I don't know who I should relate to. No, in thinking about it, it's like it's such an interesting question because then you look at because I of course am like, who are my favorite people? And I'm like, well, maybe I'm not my favorite people. I don't know. Honestly, I think I relate to a lot of the characters that I've played in a really interesting way, but I don't know if that counts because they're fictional, but I made them in who they ended up existing as. Yeah, I don't want to relate to any of the horror movies or horror shows or horror books. That would be bad. Um, I don't know. Who do you relate to? Do you have one?
So my family has compared me to the Hallmark TV show,
Okay.
Chesapeake Shores.
Okay.
I have been compared to the youngest sibling on there, Jess.
Okay.
I don't know if it's true or not. It probably kind of is because she's the spoiled younger sister. And I'm
fair, fair.
That's the only one that's coming to mind.
I love that. It's such a good question. I'm going to think on that. If I can figure it out, I'll blurt it out.
Okay. Switching gears a little bit, what is there a cause or something that you support that you'd kind of like to give a shout out or something like that?
Yeah, actually, that's a wonderful question. Every year I do something for cancer research. I mean, cancer is one of those things that I think touches everyone's life. If it hasn't touched your life, you are one of the few. I've had a lot of really wonderful people in my life that I love that I've lost to cancer, and I've had a lot of people in my life very luckily survive cancer. But I think it's one of those things that I try to participate every year. And I have since 2009. My aunt passed away in 2009 from breast cancer. And when that happened, I decided that every year I wanted to walk or run or whatever it was for all of the people that couldn't, that were a part of my life, or for people that I knew. And this year I'm actually doing the Walk to Conquer Cancer. And this year I'm specifically doing it for blood cancer research because a really good friend of mine was diagnosed with leukemia in May, and she's been undergoing incredibly difficult treatment. And it's sort of one of those things where you start to realize that, like, yes, there is the chemo and the radiation and there's surgeries, but there's also the impact it has on so many of the people around you. And there's so many of the unknowns. And so I like to try to just do something every year to support that. And then, yeah, otherwise, I mean, I always try to support different charities. When I turned 30, I decided that my gift to myself for Christmas was going to be donating to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. And every few years, I'll add, or like, I try to donate to two different charities every year. And Sick Kids has been the one that I've stuck with through the whole time, but I will like add one and then I'll like go to another one. And I try to just do as much as I can to support, because there's a lot of really wonderful charities out there. And I think anything we can do as society to lift up charity work and to lift up systems that are trying to create more benefit for people who are unwell is huge. I also like to try to donate clothes and stuff like that to women's shelters. And fun fact, when I was in high school, I ran for student president. I did not win. I was not cool enough. But
I don't believe that.
no, like really, I was not. But I did create a brand new student council role, and it was the donations director. So every time we had an event, I would make sure that 50% of everything we raised was donated to a different charity every year. Every month. And I think the position still exists at my high school, but I'm not sure.
That's awesome.
Stuff like that. But yeah, this year specifically, I'm doing the Walk to Conquer Cancer for my friend Justine. So
I'll be praying for her.
thank you. Yeah, me too.
Is there any advice that you would give a young person wanting to start off in the movie industry?
Be kind to yourself. I think that's the most important one. But also really, really know if it's something you want to do. I know famously, like, there are so many actors who have been interviewed and they say, if there's anything else you can picture yourself doing, do that instead. It is a really challenging industry. And I've been very, very lucky in it. And I recognize that. I've had a lot of really incredible support, both through my family and through the chances I've been given through places like Hallmark. I've had a huge amount of support from the fans. That doesn't happen for everybody. So I've been very lucky, but regardless, it's an industry that can be really, really hard on you, and it can be really hard on your sense of being and your sense of self. So I think ultimately you have to be really, really kind to yourself, but be 1,000% sure that it's something you want to do before you step foot in it. And then be willing to do the work, but be willing to do the work not just within the industry, but on yourself and what that ultimately will need to look like. Because it's heartbreaking when you see people enter the industry and then let it break them down. But it is something that you have to work on, because it's not always the kindest of industries, but it can be really, really magical. So if you love it, go for it. Just know that it's something that you're going to have to constantly be working on. And yeah, also be kind to the people around you in it, because there's so much competition that is put upon you, but you don't need to be a part of it if you don't want to be. And I think it's way better when everyone within this industry supports each other and lifts each other up, because there is space for everyone. and more there's space for everyone, um, at varying levels, varying degrees, of course, but there are so many shows and so many streamers and so many spaces now to exist in it. So there really is space for everybody. And I think it's one of those things that if you can lift each other up, be kind to yourself, and know it's what you want to do, then go for it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love specifically, I think I've seen more in the Hallmark
Mm-hmm.
world than anyone else, like how much the actors and actresses just group together and support each other and have each other's back.
Yeah, it's really special. I mean, I was really lucky too when I first started out with Hallmark. I was working with actresses, excuse me, specifically. I mean, obviously the actors as well, but having the actresses be there to support me and encourage me and allow me to shine was really special because that doesn't happen all the time. So I do think specifically in the Hallmark world, that's quite unique. Um, so I feel very lucky to be a part of that because I do think it is quite special to see, especially in this industry.
Well, kind of bringing the interview to a close, is there anything else you'd like to share about?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm just so glad that we got a chance to talk. It's
Me
been way too long. I'm
too.
so excited for you that you're starting this podcast,
Thank you.
and I hope that it goes so well. And I think, you know what? I think in that along those lines, I say it all the time. I know that I am where I am in this industry because of the fans of these movies, but I think something that I haven't had a chance to say really is that like someone once said to me, I know that you're in my corner and I want to be in yours. And I really do feel that way when it comes to the people that watch these movies, to the fans, to the people who come out to places like Rama Drama. I'm so appreciative and I want to be able to be there to support. I want to be able to cheer you guys on too. And having the support that I've had over the years has meant the absolute world to me. And I really just do love each and every one of you. And I'm so appreciative to everyone who has participated in allowing me to live my dream.
Thank
Big time.
you.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you and all of the different characters you bring to our screen.
Thanks.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me for that interview. I hope you enjoyed learning as much about Brittany as I did. If you'd like to keep up with her on social media, you can follow her on Instagram at Bristow. The same for X, and then on Facebook, her page is just Brittany Bristow. If you want to keep up with me and find out when more interviews are posted, I'm Mercy Sugar on both Instagram and X, and then on Facebook, the page is just A Worthy Conversation hosted by Mercy Sugar. I hope you all enjoyed and make sure to check back for the next one. Before you head on out, just leave a comment or send me a message letting me know who you would like me to interview next.